Yet again, the Tories are on the wrong side of the argument, and this time they're not even learning from their previous mistakes. Kevin Holland has admitted on national TV that he supports no-fault evictions, and that the process of landlords being able to kick tenants out with little as 2 months' notice is absolutely fine. In the clip I'm about to show you, you'll see him list all the reasons why tenants can't be evicted with zero pushback. He seems to think it's okay to kick people out of what essentially is their home for no reason, and his excuse for this is to make sure there's enough housing for other people. Holland claims that people can't be evicted for noise complaints or rent arrears, but again this is just lies. Section 8, which covers all of these, is still going to be in effect, so if they smash up the property or they don't pay their rent, then landlords can still get them out of the property. And with nearly 20% of the British population renting, this is a huge step forward for giving renters more peace of mind. Even previous Tory governments recognised that no-fault evictions needed to be scrapped. The reason why they didn't do it is because most Tory MPs at the time were landlords and they revolted against it. So if this gets through, it's a huge boost for Labour and a step in the right direction for people in rented accommodation.
Where are you on no-fault evictions?
Well, as I say, it's our view that, of course, most landlords don't want their tenant to leave because they want the rent. But if a landlord owns a property and needs it back and it's within their contractual obligations, or the tenant's contractual obligations to leave that property at the end of a term, then a landlord should be able to serve notice on a tenant.
It was Theresa May, I think, some 6 years ago, perhaps even longer, when she said, you know what, we don't want these no-fault evictions. She's going to ban them. We also heard previous housing secretaries talking about that as well. And yet here we are 6 years later, and they're still in place.
Well, it's fair to say that the Leader of the Opposition, Kerry Beardnock, has a different view on that, because if you stop a landlord from saying to a tenant, particularly a tenant that's not paying their rent or damaging a property or guilty of antisocial behaviour, from evicting that tenant, that cannot be a good thing. And it'll be many landlords, particularly landlords who own a few properties, or somebody who wants to rent their property because they're moving to a different part of the country or a different part of the world. If you say to those landlords, you cannot get your property back in those circumstances, or it'll take 9 months to get that tenant out at a point where they're not paying the rent, then the landlords will be less willing to rent their property, which won't be good for those tenants. That's the natural consequence of saying to a landlord they can't evict a tenant in those circumstances.
So, just to clarify, you are in favour of no-fault evictions?
I'm in favour of a landlord being able to set a term for a tenancy, and at the end of that tenancy, give notice to that tenant to leave.
But you can see how that might be abused.
Well, generally, it's not abused.
No, 80-odd
percent.
How it could be.
Well, I say you can put all the controls in place you want for a tenant, and the right controls, decent home standard, things like that, I'm totally in favour of. But if all the controls in the world, if a tenant cannot find a property to rent, then what good is that?
I don't want the Tories anywhere near power ever again, not after what they've done over the past 14 years. But on the flip side, I do want them to be an effective opposition, and I want them to be able to hold their government to account. But saying stupid things like this, and the one in the video that's on screen now, just shows how touched they really are. Thanks for watching, don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.